Hello to all my friends at Southminster. I miss you all. I miss you all so much, and I wish that we could see each other in real time. But I'm glad for Carol Ann to create this opportunity for us to see each other. I will tell you on a personal note that I am going to be a grandmother. Our daughter Joy Gray and her husband Harrison are expecting their first child in January, and so I'm thrilled. Some of you have known me or met me when I was came here and was a brand new mother with infants and are pregnant with other children, and have seen me with toddlers and school age and teenagers, and now I is a grandma. So I have wanted to talk a little bit today about Jacob's dream that he has. We're told that he had a stone for a pillow, and when he went to sleep, that he saw a staircase and angels going up and down the staircase, and God spoke to him, promising that he would get the land, his descendants would get the land where he was, that he would have many descendants, that the earth would be blessed because of his descendants. He says, I am with you. I will protect you everywhere you go. I will not leave you until I have done everything that I have promised you. And the next morning, Jacob wakes up and says, whoa, the Lord is definitely in this place, and I didn't know it. And we're told that he consecrates that stone pillow as a sacred pillar, and promises actually to give a tenth of everything back to God that he has promised him. So it's sort of the start of the tithe as well. I like that story for lots of reasons, because I think sometimes we aren't aware of God's presence in our midst, that we do miss it. And every now and then we have our eyes opened to that. We feel a comfort, a warmth. Sometimes it's a kick in the patush. You know, this week we celebrated the anniversary of the landing on the moon in July, and I imagine that most of you probably remember where you were when you watched the landing and the Neil Armstrong walking on the moon. I remember I was visiting my aunt and uncle here in Charlotte, and we were actually at their house on Lake Wylie. And if you remember at that event, they landed, and then there was a delay between the landing and they're actually walking on the moon. And I was a child and fell asleep, but my parents woke us up at 10:30 so that we could see the walking on the moon. The astronauts brought back with them, rocks and soil samples and all, and it was really a desolate place. And yet at the same time, the astronauts that have been there report that being in space and on the moon were spiritual experiences for them. Jim Irwin of Apollo 15 said that while walking on the moon, he felt the presence of God so clearly that at one point he turned around and looked over his shoulder to see if God was standing there. And of course that reminds me of Jacob's story, of his, when he arrives that dream, he's done a lot of bad things up to that point. He's cheated on his brother, he's lied to his father, he's on the run. He's figuring that his life is headed in the wrong direction. And the story tells us that he fell asleep on this stone pillow. And I really think that that's probably a good metaphor for what this pandemic has been like, a stone pillow. The nights we are worried, anxious, brokenhearted, disappointed, afraid, hopeless, our pillow can feel like a stone, offering no comfort, no rest, no peace. Desolate places are often deserts too, feel like places where we're thirsty, where we don't have what we need, where we're alone and far from others. You know, there's only one mention of a pillow in the New Testament. Jesus is said to be asleep on a boat in the middle of a terrible storm, and Mark tells us that his head was on a pillow. In the midst of a storm, Jesus has peace. The message is subtle and unmistakable. The disciples are anxious during the storm. Oh, what's going on? Don't you care about us? Don't you care about us, is what they say to Jesus. And isn't that ultimately what we often ask of God? Don't you care about us? Can't you see how we are suffering? In times of difficulty, sometimes people will say, well, you know, God never gives you more than you can handle. Oh, and somehow people think that that is a word of comfort. Well, I don't find much comfort in that. There's no comfort in knowing that God is, the God's form of help is by just being certain we remain one straw short of snapping beneath the weight of our burdens. I need a God who can do more than just hold back the last straw. And I believe we do have a God who can do more. You know, some of our burdens are lifted and taken away, and some are lightened because we can share them with others. But some of our burdens cannot be lifted or lightened. But they can be transformed by God's grace into privileges, into passions, into unexpected blessings, into thresholds of lives remade with surprising goodness, just when we thought goodness had run out. Every British monarch is crowned and sitting on what is called the coronation chair. It's not a very impressive chair. It's not very adorned. It's got peeling paint on it. But beneath the seat is encased a stone, and legend says this is the stone, the very stone that Jacob used as a pillow when he had his dream. Now, I think it's pretty highly unlikely that the relic is authentic, but I can understand that at the moment of coronation, a person feels like they are in a lonely place, and the promise of God's presence is particularly cherished in a moment like that. When Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon, the first act actually was not the moonwalk. Aldrin carried with him into space a consecrated communion wafer and a small vial of communion wine. He and Armstrong had been on the lunar surface only a few minutes when Aldrin made a publicly broadcast announcement asking every person listening to pause for a moment and contemplate the events of the past few hours and to give thanks in his or her own way. This is what he said happened. In the radio blackout, I opened the little plastic package which contained the bread and the wine. I poured the wine into the chalice. In the 1/6 gravity of the moon, the wine slowly curled and gracefully came up the side of the cup. Then I read from John's Gospel. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me will bring forth much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. The presence of God in desolate places is hidden much of the time. And when unveiled, God surprises us when the clouds part and reveal perhaps even a supersized moon hanging low and yellow in the sky. Man went to the moon, but God came to earth, that we might always be near him, be able to communion with him, no matter where we are. God came to earth to bless us, to care for us, to lead us, and to offer us healing and hope for the dawn, even when our pillow is made of stone. Can you hear my dog? She's dreaming. Maybe she has a stone pillow. I hope when she wakes up, perhaps she'll say, "Ah, there were dog bones in my midst and I didn't know it." Miss you, love you, and thank you for all the many ways that you have shown me and supported me and cared for me and modeled for me what it is to live bravely and faithfully. Bye.